You see oversight projects started because of a political concern, the idea that you can score political points. You also see oversight projects started because of a serious, credible concern about agency wrongdoing or misspending. Sometimes they're both, and sometimes the most effective oversight are those that are both provide political leverage as well as are underpinned by facts. But there are some ways that you can look and see how serious and credible an investigation is. The first one is to look at the request letters and the subpoenas they're sending. If they're identifying specific documents or categories of documents, specific people they want to interview as opposed to general categories of people, that tells you that they've tried to do their homework and they're trying to keep their focus squarely on what the issue is. Are the time frames reasonable? Are they asking for every document to be produced within a week or two? That's not serious oversight. If you see more reasonable time frame, I think that's going to make a lot more sense to people. And especially if you see sign-on from the minority. If it's a bipartisan investigation, that lends great credibility that you really can't argue with. I think leverage would be the third door. Statutes are nice to have, but at the end of the day, you can see an executive branch who decides to take their co-equal branch, Congress, to court over something rather than submit to whatever the request is. So more often than not, you wind up through a process of sharing your leverage with the other side to try to encourage some cooperation. So agencies always need something. I mean, people have always talked about how Congress can hold up nominations if they're not getting cooperation. Certainly they can mess with an agency's funding. But agencies are always needing to get various laws and administrative fixes taken care of. And the committees that oversee them are frequently the ones where that kind of change would happen. So there is a lot of kind of negotiation going back and forth. If you can help us with what we're trying to find out, we can help you run a better department. I think that we see a lot of heat and light going towards issues of individual wrongdoing by top officials and agency heads. But meanwhile, what we're seeing is, and we see this with every administration, but I think to a greater extent now, when you have unqualified or nominees of limited qualifications running a large multi-billion-dollar agency, you're going to see failures all the way down the line, and agencies and programs that simply aren't functioning, that haven't been staffed up, that haven't been funded properly, or have been taken or have been handed over to someone who is in the grip of special interests, who is driving it to the far beyond what its statute or mandate is that needs to be reined in. So the appropriations committees and subcommittees are the ones who set the spending levels for all of the executive branch agencies. And they take that job very seriously. And the Senate and the House appropriators both have large teams of oversight and investigation staff. And they routinely scrub every agency in their operations to look for signs of waste, fraud, misspending, abuse, or deviations from statutory requirements. So they often know more about what's going on inside agencies, in some cases than the agency heads themselves. They're an amazing resource for information. One of the reasons they're successful and effective, not only because they control the power of the purse, but also because they do handle these issues with a real modicum of discretion. However, when you have an administration who may be coming out and making statements that are far beyond what can be demonstrated or what in fact may be accurate, sometimes they can be an effective check to share some information on what the ground truth actually is inside that agency.